emphasis on the farming was the downturn in the economy, and I had already been raising registered Red Angus, and I thought the one way we'd actually began doing embryo and AI work more to generate replacement animals, or for seed stock rather than meat. And we kind of got screwed up from the standpoint that we started the AI and the embryo work, and we had these animals for seed stock, but we ran short of animals for beef for the hotel. And we're getting to a point now where we're building up. We had actually culled a lot of animals and got rid of animals of lesser quality, and not with the expectation of doing as much work with beef. But now that we're doing more work, we recognize that we're going to need the animals for beef, and we're even continuing to speak to more venues about retailing the beef too. We've been able to start to build the herd back up, and probably, I think, our expectation is probably not to exceed more than like 40 females, and I don't think we'll do that unless something radically changes. I mean, we have the acreage that we could add more animals, but I don't see us, unless something changes drastically, we probably don't want to put that much more work, or we would have to hire people to expand, because as it is right now, we take care of all the animals all the time. Now, like I said, I think I mentioned at the hotel, this time of the year, the number of animals we have is lower because the primary time for them to need beef is in the summer, and then I guess in the area of Christmas. So what we have now, I think, is only is there 18 steers that we have on feed, and they're going to be killed throughout the end of this year. Now, some will go into spring. The thing to remember is, from the time these animals are killed till the time the hotel actually receives them is like 28 days. So animals that we just took to be killed yesterday will be are not going to be delivered to the hotel until approaching September. So I guess our primary business since I started doing this in around 1994 had been primarily like feed quality hay and some corn and soybeans. And I felt that by doing this with the Red Angus cattle and attempting to create a brand, what my thought process is that we could develop something that would make our product not necessarily a commodity. Like I knew that if we were totally tied to commodities, that we would never be able to dictate our own destiny. And I think that by creating the beef product as well as the seed stock and creating a brand that could be recognized, we would be something that other producers could not be or haven't been. I mean, we wanted to do something where I wasn't completely tied to what the futures market would give us for the product we were growing. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for other people to do this same type of thing, even if they're only operating, 10 acres. If you can do celery or asparagus the right way, you have a chance to make more money and to not be so tied to a system that's going to give you something that you can't control yourself. So that's,
And just to add to that, we farm almost 600 acres, which is probably small potatoes compared to some places out west. But for the two of us to farm everything ourselves, I mean, it's a lot. And really switching to the bigger bales has really helped us out. It's given us time to be able to do other things like the beef.
Well, yeah, because about 10 years ago, I think, is when I bought my first big baler. And prior to that, we were making like 30 to 40,000 small bales a year, which basically tied up your entire summer. And we didn't have the opportunity to do the other things that we do now. Now, when I say do other things, we don't go on vacation. The only thing we do is farm. But
Cows,
but at least now we had like with the modern equipment, the larger scale, we're able to focus on the beef, and making hay is a fraction of the time it used to be. Now we can go out in an hour and bale as much hay as it took us an entire day before. So there's definitely benefits in that respect. And I think, as far as I was definitely honored that New Holland picked us to come to see us today. And, like Amy said, I know we're a lot smaller than a lot of people in other parts of the country, but we are doing something that I think could benefit a lot of people in a lot of other regions, not necessarily central Pennsylvania, but I think all up and down the East Coast, the West Coast, Texas, there's opportunity for people to do things like this. And I realize that, in the middle of Iowa, it might be more difficult, but I think that this is a trend that's not going to go away. And I think it's good that a company like New Holland is in touch with consumer demand, not necessarily the farmer being their consumer, but what the people, the end user of these agricultural products, and putting emphasis on some of the smaller equipment. And there is going to be smaller producers. If you go to New Jersey, there's a lot of people doing grass-fed beef. Hey, these people are going to need hay somewhere, and a lot of times producing small amounts on their own with the smaller equipment might be a better option than buying it, because today, like specifically in Pennsylvania right now, hay is just through the roof with the weather we've had. So, do you have anything you wanted to add? And what we'll do is, this farm is where we live. There's roughly 70 acres here, and we do have all of our, well, not all of our cows, but the vast majority of our cows are here. And like I said at the hotel, Amy's mad at me because the cows are not in a pasture. We can see them right now. Maybe we'll be able to see them later, but the steers are here. And we have 2 other farms adjacent to this one that I rent from my parents, and 2 other ones in Grantville, which is about 6 miles northeast of here, that we rent as well. No, 3 in Grantville we rent. So, like, overall, we're operating around 550 to 600 acres, but the majority of the beef work does take place here, and we probably will continue to expand on the cows and calves, but at this point, I think that we're kind of satisfied where we are, and we're going to systematically grow the number of females we have. Hopefully continue to grow the beef business, and also grow our seed stock sales, because that's could be a good part of where we could make some more money. So we can take a walk over here. I guess we can stop at this barn. This pole barn, what we do is we have some small pens in there that we do feed some animals in. Usually right before they're killed, we move them to that pen and feed them in smaller groups, where we can monitor what we think they weigh. And then before each animal goes out, we do weigh them, and we compare data with some of the genetics and what the dressing percentages are on the animals. And then there's another barn on the other side of the house that we can stop out at, and that's where the majority of the feeders are kept. We don't weigh them at that barn. We always move them into this pole barn first. So, want to take a walk down? We were really shooting, I guess, to provide a high-quality beef product in the sense that it's my belief that as far as being grass-fed, I wouldn't dismiss it. I think it's a great idea. I have no issues with being grass-fed, but you're not going to get the marbling, and you're not going to get the tenderness that you get with a grain-fed animal. So we are focusing to get a prime or choice plus yield grade. So the other issue that has come up is whether it's organic, and we are not organic. Again, I've dabbled in the idea, but knowing what it would cost me right now to purchase the diet in an organic diet, I know I cannot retail the meat and make money at it. So there again, not to say it's a bad idea, but for where we're located in the country, we don't have a market, or I can't charge what I would need to charge to provide organic beef. But they are not, there's no implants, no steroids, no antibiotics, or anything like that in their diet.
How many do you send to the hotel at a time?
It varies, but normally never more than 3. One and 2 normally, and that's on a 2-week cycle.
Okay. I was just kind of curious how long it would last, so yeah.
Yeah, they, so in May, they start receiving 4 per month, and then, so those animals have to be killed towards the beginning of April, and then they start getting delivered in May. And then they're on that cycle until September. Then in October, I think they only get 2. But then last year, I don't know where Amy is, during Christmas, I think they got 5 or 6 in December, because they have a lot of banquets and things during that month, and And then January, February, March, April is very slow for them, and at that point, it's one a month, I think for those 4 months. 4 months.
Do they take the entire animal and just select
Yes,
the cuts?
yeah.
Really?
No, I've been very lucky with that, and that's the one thing that, okay, as far as like, I was concerned about retailing to certain restaurants because I know they go belly up all the time, and I don't want to be.
Well, not
so-
only that, but they only want certain cuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Which,
They don't want the
for us to
offal.
find a hotel or restaurant that will take an entire animal, I think it's a really good deal. And they get the primal cuts, and they actually have a small butcher shop in the hotel, and they break it down further from there. So they can really utilize everything. I think even the organs from the animal goes to the Hershey Zoo.
Okay.
So everything gets used. They use the bone, they use everything.
Well, that's what I was curious
So,
about, because the offal is the hardest part of
Well, and actually,
this market.
they just told us today, this was the first time I heard it, they said they actually fight over the bones at different areas of the hotel. They use it for making stock. And
Yeah.
what else do they make with the bones? I don't know, but he said that they dispute who's getting them, like they're in demand apparently. And actually, I think we're shipping somewhere in the area of 70 to 80 pounds of bone per animal. It's almost always in that range.
What was your choice over Red Angus over Black Angus?
We raised Black Angus.
Well, we
years
never
and years
had Black
ago.
Angus. We fed Black Angus steers.
Right.
And I have no issue. Actually, I think, and don't quote me because I'm not 100% certain I'm right about this, but I'm pretty close. I think in every other country in the world, they're the same registry. Like even Canada, Australia, the UK, I think red and black are the same registry. It's just Angus. There's no distinguishable factor. But I think the main reason we chose Red Angus is I had seen a program years ago, I don't know if it was in a magazine, and it had to do with the maintenance of the animals, the calving needs, and the maternal traits. That's why we picked them.
I didn't
Because,
know if they were more docile or.
well,
We believe
I
they
believe
are.
they might be a little more docile. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had a couple that could be a real problem, but for the most part, they are more docile.
And which actually is the most important thing to us, since it's only the two of us handling the animals.
Yeah.
When we get one that's not docile, it's usually pretty quick to go out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty important to us.
But the main reasons we picked them is, is the calving ease and not having to work on them as much. You know, it's not, well, it was calving ease, really. I mean, I didn't want to be pulling calves. I can't. I mean, had calves this January, and thank God they at least popped out on the road. Yeah, you know, it was one night, it was January 8th, it was 8 degrees, and I found this cow having a calf at 9 o'clock at night. We're out till 2:30 in the morning. And I don't want to have to be pulling calves, I know that. Seems like there's something else I wanted to add. Oh, the other great benefit that we have right now with Red Angus is if you would look, they have that an FCCP tagging system. It's a feeder calf certification program where we can purchase calves, and as long as they are Red Angus breeders, if you own a registered Red Angus animal, you can buy tags through the Red Angus Association. You report the tag numbers you use during a given date period, and then you are assured if I'm buying calves with that tag, I know I'm getting a registered animal, something, or it's at least over 50% Red Angus, where I don't think there's any other breed that has a USDA verified program where you can genetically prove what you're getting. Like, so it's very hard for anyone else, unless you'd be using Red Angus. I don't think you could provide a genetically verified beef product in the United States.
When you say genetically verified, you're sending DNA in?
No, I don't need to, because the only way you can purchase the tags is if you own registered animals.
Okay, so it's
And they're genetically verified,
So,
the registered animals.
but I guess you could have cheaters in this system. You could have people that own registered animals and then they're using these tags, but I sort of doubt that that's, I mean, I think it's not the norm for that to happen.
And the program is an age and source verified program as well as genetic, and I think nowadays everybody wants to know how old the animal is they're eating and where it came from. So those are two things that we can tell you exactly where every single animal came from.
With beef animals, almost always they're weaned at 7 months of age, roughly 7 months of age, 210 days. And when we wean animals at 210 days, they're typically in the area of 700 pounds would be probably about an average number, maybe 650 to 700. After weaning, they would be put in this building somewhere. We may leave them in pasture a little bit longer than that, separated from their mothers. Or when we buy feeders at roughly 700 pounds, they're definitely put in this building. So the age of these animals, most of them would average approximately 13 or 14 months, and then butchered at any time. Some of these are pretty fat now. They're going to be killed within the next 30 days. And then the smaller ones will drag into the fall and into winter. Actually, we've already used, I think we killed the last of our own animals 2 weeks ago. And these actually all came from a farm in South Carolina. And we'll probably, like I said earlier, I think in the next year, I should have mentioned earlier, we are a PA preferred producer. Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture has a program where if beef animals are fed for the last 100 days of their life in Pennsylvania, they can be certified as PA preferred, being a Pennsylvania product designed to promote Pennsylvania agricultural products. But what will make me happy is, like I said, in the next 1 year, I think we're going to be able to source all of our animals from Pennsylvania, where all the calves will have been born in Pennsylvania. And I guess that won't do any good for people in the Carolinas, but they'll be able to find their own market.
Don't tell him that yet.
Yeah, don't
Darn
tell him
it.
that. So, is there any other questions?